Hey everybody, this is Super Dave Manja signing on to Couch Potato Gaming Reviews to bring you my review of the 2018 Lovecraftian horror mystery game Call of Cthulhu. In Call of Cthulhu, you play as the protagonist Edward Pierce, a private investigator taking on the case of Sarah Hawkins, who died in a mysterious fire on Darkwater Island off the coast of Boston, Massachusetts. As you can probably guess, there will likely be spoilers in here, so if you want a number on the game, skip to the end. Otherwise, sit back and take it all in. Over the course of the game, you encounter cultists, monsters, and your own hallucinations as your sanity gradually withers away the deeper you dive into this mystery. The story of the game is set on the island of Darkwater, where a large number of people apparently suffer from insomnia. Very early in the game, you learn that this whaling town underwent an extremely hard time as the whales disappeared several decades ago. The town was saved by what the townsfolk call the miraculous catch. As you investigate the death of Sarah Hawkins, you meet a number of interesting characters, such as the fisherman, and fisherman. You also meet the sexy and scary character of Kat, a mob-running, whiskey-peddling, prohibition-hating, delicious-looking crime lord. Then there's Captain Fitzroy, who seems like your best friend, and then he turns into a dickhole. Your cop friend, who dies, but not really, who you can decide to kill later on or not, which apparently doesn't affect the achievement you get from the encounter anyway. Dr. Cold, another buxom broad, but she's a good guy, and then she turns crazy pants. Dr. Fuller, another crazy pants piece of shit Freud-looking motherfucker. You can tell I didn't like him very much. The first thing I loved about this game was how likable or hateable the characters were. They were all well written and fleshed out. Each interaction with them had you wondering what was really going on under the surface. Each chapter of the story had you guessing, holding my attention to the end credits. It's not an action game. Most of the game takes place in dimly lit spaces. You have a lighter and a lantern, which runs out of fuel apparently, but it only matters like once in the whole game. As a first-person investigation game, you have the freedom to move around environments, and there is so much to do and see. The bulk of the game, however, is point and click. You see something shining? Go click on it. It's almost always rewarding. Combat? Well, there's not really any combat in this game. There's some stealth parts, like when you're sneaking around the hospital, solving puzzles, trying to figure out all the different ways you can distract the guards. But let's face it, they're not really paying attention to you anyway. Then you have the piece of shit, goddamn fucking cock lips, dimensional shambler. A huge part of the story surrounds this creature brought forth by Sarah Hawkins' painting. At one point in the game, you're locked in an art gallery trying to avoid getting seen or heard and then killed. And you have no idea where this asshole is. The only way to beat this guy is to find the right dagger out of like 8 possible occult daggers and then use it to cut the painting and send this dickbag back to his homeworld.
Oh my God!
The only way you can tell where he is in this place is if you have surround sound and or really good like left-right earphones, you know, giving you the full 3-dimensional sound, then you might be able to tell where he is based on his sound if you are lucky. You could try to beat the guy the way the developers intended, involving lots and lots of death by trying each and every dagger and each and every showcase. If you're lucky, and I mean really, really lucky, the Shambler won't see you. But let's look at some of the footage of this bullshit. God damn it, he was right by the goddamn painting! Nope. Goodbye. He came from the exact opposite direction as last time. See? He's a piece of shit. The only way I was able to beat this asshole without spending an exceptionally large amount of time was by going online, finding which room the dagger was in, but you see, that wasn't the end. I didn't want to be a complete asshole, so I didn't check to see which dagger was which one. So after a bazillion more attempts, I found the right dagger, and the Shambler finally wasn't right in my way, so I was able to send him back into the painting. Other than this one bullshit part, and the mostly point-and-click shoot-'em mechanic, the game doesn't feature any combat. Encounters can be solved through dialogue mostly and stealth, and yet the developers created the atmosphere of the game in such a way that despite there being minimal combat, you're constantly on your toes and on the edge of your seat, holding your breath, hoping your next move doesn't send you back to the last checkpoint. Despite all the nail-biting drama, this is a game of choices. Do you go all out and heed the call and awaken the ancient old one, or do you fight the call, claim your sanity, and solve the mystery? There are so many choices to make, and all of them affect your destiny in-game. Each choice you make determines which dialogue you get with which characters. Do you harass the widow, make friends with the mob boss, or get into a fight with the bartender? Unlike other games, like Fallout, where for the most part, you can explore every dialogue choice there is with certain characters, here, your dialogue choices are limited. If you choose one, you can't go back to see what she was going to say or he was going to say before. You fucked up and chose the wrong one? Uh-oh, it affects your destiny. Too bad, better luck next time. From what I can tell, there are 4 endings to the game, and your choices throughout the game reveal which one of these endings you can choose from. So the replayability of this game is definitely there. I've seen all the endings, and they all mess with you at least a little bit. I can't tell which ending the developers intended for this game as far as good endings are concerned. My personal favorite, though, is when you waken the old one and Cthulhu rises from the sea. Now let's talk about the graphics. Having come out in 2018, and the fact that this game is mostly looking at things, you'd think there would have been more effort made here. Cutscenes are barely better quality than the rest of the game, which doesn't look all that good. Games like Tomb Raider, God of War, and the fucking Shadow of Colossus remake all came out in the same year, and their graphics were 10 times better. In a game where you're largely looking at things and exploring environments, this is a huge flat side. It's hard to say that it takes away from the enjoyment of the game, but there were quite a few parts where I cringed at the obvious lack of attention in this area. There's a lot to love about this short 8-hour game. It wasn't the game I thought it was going to be, but I loved it anyway. As a huge fan of Lovecraftian-style games and concepts, I thought the developers did a great job capturing the insanity, the intrigue, and the lore of the mythos. There was so much to do. Even in my first playthrough, I got 31 achievements. And when I went through the list of some of those achievements, I was like, that was in the game? Graphics aside, I think there are a lot of gamers out there who would love to play this game. Whether you're new to Lovecraftian horror or you just want a psychological investigation game with a lot of intrigue and unique ideas, this is definitely a game you want to buy and play. I give this game an 8.5 out of 10 because of the graphics and that goddamn Shambler. Hashtag fuck the Shambler, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching!